Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of the Good 8 Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last episode, we just finished our investigation. In this episode, we're going to be heading to the trial. And also, if you guys notice the layout, it's quite different. Although I do need to fix it at this rate. Alright, we got it fixed. And yeah, this is my new bit of the bottom setup. The text font has changed, but nothing really has changed. But so let's get started on Trial Part 1. I'm hoping the background noise isn't too distracting, guys, so gotta pray for that. Expect great voice acting too, by the way. Can't believe it's been 6 months since I was last allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. And Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Harebrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it every time I'm here, that gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. Are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind. Yes, well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. And to save the secret of my super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine from being made public. That is a very long name. Yes, I understand. I know what I might have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail. Commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have been lumbered with the most tiresome case here. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, I didn't expect to see you here. Oh, that was very mean, Uno. Leaving me alone at the home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to waken. Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir, I am he. Herlock Sholmes. The way he phrased it. Oh, I heard about your exploits while living in Germany. Yes, your aunt's magazine is on sale in Germany too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction, The Good Adventure of the Silver Blaze, was wonderful. Yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerned a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was the speckled band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh? I have urgent business at Madame Two Spells. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has gauged my services. So you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it. So does the receipt returned at the waxwork, naturally. As such, I tend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then, I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be easy as a proverbial pie, and I shall return forthwith. For until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Oh, you must give it your absolute full attention, Hurley. Quite Iris, quite, but life is filled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something to my full attention, I have a quite insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely. I understand, totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrain. Why, thank you. Okay. Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. As compelling as this super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation, such as it was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibit, is quite impossible. So, we really can't say it's an accident, but the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he firmly believes it was. Believes it was to be murder, probably. I read that Professor Bunnyblaine's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could have barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree? How could an experiment had no possibility of succeed and in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that'll be the heart of the trial, I have no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? You'll decide whether or not he actually did murder or not. Now I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. Alright. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Luno. But chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. Hee, it's gonna be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. Ha, that sounds ominous. Counsel for the defense and the defendant! Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. We're on our way. This is me hoping I can finish this game in a few days' time. An experiment with the laws of science that can't possibly succeed, and a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryunosuke. That's the key to this case. Oh boy. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. Even though I feel so old right now, we are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrained. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more? No, Susato. I'm without Susato-san today. We gotta do this by ourselves then. Ugh. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I must recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. Odie Osmond. That Mr. Osmond was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that a man appeared in court, prosecuted by you, Lord Von Zeeks. But the jury remained unanimous and found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed, by the sound of it, these powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on the 21st of October, Mr. Osmond met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? Dun dun. If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution, that the fact remains that Mr. Osmond's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrained. Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill societal duty? I am most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. To have a man's fate in the palms of one's hand. Oh gosh, oh jolly, it sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials are nothing but more than performances. Wow, we're getting new people. An experienced scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. We have to listen to what he said, what's said on both sides. The fence and then settle on one. That's it, isn't it? And this guy's sleeping.
Wasn't like my day like this. It wasn't like this at all.
That's the police killer Autumore lookalike again. Christ! This is our new cast? Damn it. And he's exhausted as ever, it seems. No, as I'm sure you're all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Though the death toll can be far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London know if the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. Alright. So, are your opening statement, please, Lord Von Zeeks? At the heart of this incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of the science's latest developments, I take it, that the government is keen to capitalize on a great exhibition to prove Britain's technological advance. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord! It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extreme high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. That's the point. Is such a thing even in the realms of possibility?
Well, I sure don't believe it, that's for sure.
Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking.
Huh, this whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis will never stand up to scrutiny.
I'm gonna be thinking of different voices for these guys. Sir, I believe you are a fellow Royal Society, are you not? Are you an expert in your field?
I am. And then my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock.
So this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What is the prosecution view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. Nani?
What, Rob?
Ora! The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. It is deemed to have merit. A substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the invention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asben's life in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Thank you, Lord Von Zeeks. The prosecution's stance is clear. Now, will you bring forth the witnesses to substantiate your claims? Gladly, my lord. Alright. He's gonna take off his cape right away, jeez. Bailiff, show the first witnesses to the stand. Oh boy, Gregson and Harebrain. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court.
Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicidal Side Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question, and in charge of the following investigation.
Albert Harebrain, scientist. You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from the university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery. Which is what brought me back I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition.
What you demonstrated was incredible, alright. An incredible explosion.
But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was a terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success.
Well, that much is undeniable, as shown as this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
Wait. This was taken outside the Crystal Tower, I take it. Centerpiece of the exhibition, no less.
That's right, my lord. It seems like the victim ran straight into it.
I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence. The photograph and the victim has been entered into the court record.
As the court has heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Asman.
There are shards. There's a wound to his chest. Monocle. I don't see anything wrong much with this pic, to be honest, but
there have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and demonstration itself.
I see. So to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct?
Exactly.
But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right, that must be it. My splendid machine, my poor splendid machine.
You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even examine the records thanks to the special dispensation for the Scientific Equipments Act.
What? The wreckage! But that being the case, how could the facts be established? How could it be possible? Be determined whether this was an accident or deliberate or malicious act. Extremely simple, my lord. I beg your pardon. Isn't it right, witness? What? Sorry, me? No, your neighbor.
Yes, sir, it was murder, plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty.
What? How could he possibly think that? Alright. Thank you, Inspector. I think we had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder. Alright. Dang it, it's about to fall. A front for murder.
The corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck.
I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection. That's all. That was my mistake.
But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. That was a lesion in his chest where he stabbed something clearly sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fellow's the only one who could have done it.
As a testimony on extraordinary business. In addition to the suffering of a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart? Information would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge.
The coroner says death. It would have been all but instant from a wound like that.
You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. Twice? No, that couldn't be further from the truth.
I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim set himself inside something called the birdcage, ready for himself beam instantly. To the second level of Crystal Tower, about 25 yards away.
You mean so like the platform there?
The experiment did not go
according to plan, however. Boof. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in midair. From where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of this crystal tower's large round window. My word, one assumes that the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident, a terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you.
No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart.
Murder weapon? What are you saying? The autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like to enter into the court record. Your request is granted, counsel. Neck was broken from the impact of violent blow, stabbed in the chest with a sharp object. I want to look at this autopsy report.
I was there in person, you know. I saw the whole ludicrous performance.
Okay, let's hold up. British, died around 2:20 p.m. Hemorrhage to wound that pierced heart by sharp impact. Broken vertebrae, looks like it was an impact up a certain fall of considerable height. Okay.
And the only other person on the stage with Mr. Asmund was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist.
Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him.
Hard to think otherwise, really.
Very well, counsel for the defense. Proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. Oof. It's been a while. Okay, let's do this. Affront for murder. Mata! Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height?
Exactly. Which highlights something else about this whole rum business.
What's that? The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success.
After the explosion, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair.
Although the experiment ended in a disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster? Minor miscalculation. I see. So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculate yourself personally? Absolutely! The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out.
Only you got it wrong, didn't you?
Yes, that's right! That's the point! The calculation was so complicated, even I could make a mistake. Do people fold for that raising confidence? I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight and the wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how could this have happened. Obviously, then, you have to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asmund was wearing at the time, I suppose. Cracking comets? The answer should have been 3. So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safety third. Can we get anything out of the testimony? Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it?
2 right. Hoorah.
Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well.
But you're saying that's not the case?
You'll get your answer once I've finished my fish and chips. You don't keep butting in every few seconds.
But we all know that's a bottomless bag. The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that is the cause of death.
Right, that's what we all thought. But it was a red herring, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wonder where that... So, if we assume that the cause of death was by height, what does the lesion in his chest have to do with it? That's the question. The defense knew nothing of this crucial information. The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of the informity of defense. Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. Like, thanks a lot. So, what was the nature of this sharp object? Among the accused tools that were used in the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This screwdriver. Oh, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it? There he is. My trusty little companion, Andrew. The fuck? Andrew, of course. Do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named him all, you know. We're one big happy family. Christ. Even the judge can't believe it. Andrew's my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael's a crosshead. Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. That isn't... It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt. No. That's not all. The long shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? What? Huh? Order! The corporal entered as friend of the defendant as evidence. The screwdriver has been entered the court record. So, one of Professor Harebrain's tools, the murder weapon. Great. I'm very curious about what this thing is. This is blood. Mr. Asman's no doubt. So the problem with looking at murder weapons. Is there anything else? I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. Same screwdriver that was lodged into the grill of the floor of the kinesis machine. What important information should I definitely make a note of it? Very distinctive handle. I want to believe this crossbow has something to do with it, but... The question is, when did he get stabbed? Could it be this crossbow? Let's press him. What grounds do you have for saying that?
Do you really think you need to ask? There were only a few people on that public experimentation stage in front of the whole crowd.
So, the victim, Mr. Odie Asman, and the accused Professor Harebrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive.
That's right! I saw him with my own eyes!
Furthermore, following the explosion in kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body.
In other words, someone else on stage with the victim could have possibly done...
The fuck? Professor Harebrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? No. Professor! Sorry! I was calculating the optimum coefficient of the electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. Like, I understand every word of this. And the witness stand is the best place for that. It seems as though you might have something to say about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right. Of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh?
I don't know, but... There's no way I could have possibly stabbed Mr. Asman, as you say. Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continues through their veins. I'd heard. Then you surely see. If I plunged something of the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a swimming pool. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet not one of them claims to have seen the swimming pool of blood. Well, no, I suppose not. He has a point. Everyone was watching, right? You see, not one.
True. I didn't see anything like that.
Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Order! Oh my god. Oh no, please don't break your wine glass. Pray forgive the discourtesy if I saber a drop from my hollowed chalice to accompany my old friend's adducing. Here's to you, Albert. Oh, you're too kind, Barack. I'm really not a patch on you. Huh? No, you're not. No? You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility. I have a particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound.
Of course.
Inspector, align the court, please.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going with this? Very well, you will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson.
The weapon the victim was stabbed with must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air.
Huh? Why would you think that, Inspector?
With any wound, it's only when you pull the weapon out that profuse bleeding occurs, while it's still lodged in the body. It acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word.
I see. You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator. Where's Susato said when you need her?
You asked me, this bloke masked what he was doing from the view of his body before stabbing Asman in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, the screwdriver still where he planted.
I would never do such a thing, not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You would only use tools for the intended purpose. That's the common knowledge for any scientist. The fact remains, the lack of blood at the scene can be easily explained as the prosecution has demonstrated. So that's all the testimony I have to work with. So I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Von Zieks keep that to himself on purpose to gain the advantage? Oh well, I suppose all I can do is just press these witnesses for as much new info as possible. So he pressed every info. I'm gonna guess here. Could it be the updated screwdriver? You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal?
Look, there was no blood in the experimentation stage, even though that's where this fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver is still in his body, stopping for any heavy bleeding.
It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend, even on your side of the world. Yes, but this about the screwdriver. Thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. Nunny. It was on the floor of the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the detective here stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson?
Now you come to mention it, yes.
Inspector, are we to understand you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the special dispensation for the Scientific Equipment Act
No, not at all. No, my lord. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing.
Yes, that's true. The screwdriver is in plain sight of the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it?
What are you getting at?
If this tool had been on the victim's body when the victim was beamed away from the machine, then it shouldn't have been on the stage. Oh, that's true. That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman, and been found still lodged in the victim's chest.
Ora,
how do you explain this, Inspector?
I don't.
As looks as though everything the victim had his person moved with the hit him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously that should have been beamed to the destination as well.
Yo.
This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis was a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, time to tighten the screws here. My lord, the prosecution's only way to explain this inconsistency in its argument can only conclude that the testimony given support cannot be relied upon. That's a great argument. Lord Von Zeke's a stump. Huh? Harebrain? Do you have something to say, witness?
Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. The Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry.
About what?
Without delving into the details, there's no inconsistency.
Nani?
If Andrew had been lodged into Mr. Asman's chest, my trusty tool would have had moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations. Nani?
You could've... Oh my god.
It would seem that your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accuser's explanation.
Fucking A. Even Von Zeeks had to throw a goddamn bottle.
Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation.
Great. Just when I found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientist. God dang it. Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold.
In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord.
Okay.
The inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still not at the stage of gathering data in my research. But my hypothesis states that the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't just an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work would have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together.
Oh boy. Fuck's sakes. Now we got ourselves a new examination to worry about. So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is?
That based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis.
In other words,
since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remains lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage despite the victim being found elsewhere is not an inconsistency.
And therefore, the judge is so lost right now.
And therefore, Professor Harebrain could still have been the killer. My great hypothesis holds.
We're supposed to be helping you, not making this worse. What the fuck, man? We had to make the cage contain the subject from wood for the very reason. I was not addressing you, witness. Professor Harebrain. Yes. Whose side are you on here? Are you on my side? Or are you betraying me? That's what I want to figure out. I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. My only interest lies upon upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist after all. How annoying. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo. I feel like he's on the side of science instead of the side of the defense. Or side of the prosecution, that's what I tend to believe. And yet your retort to my argument wasn't lacking in confidence in any way possible. No scientist can find the truth without first finding self-belief. Those were the words of a certain scientist I hold in the very highest esteem. But you realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you? No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More of the words of the same great scientist, you know. It's words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is this scientist? I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Mr. Naruhodo. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know. It might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind. You're wasting your breath, my learned friend. This scatterbrain even forgets my name at times. So Lord Von Zieks really did have a friend once. I didn't notice hell freezing over. This would have been useful, by the way. Your hypothesis states it, so this isn't proven then? No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis, but good ones, based upon thousands of calculations. But it is widely known that the metals cannot be decomposed by electrolysis. Yes, of course I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct. What is this incriminating himself that makes this man so happy? It's the whole reason that the birdcage was made of wood, you see. Sorry, the birdcage? Yes, that's what I called C. Obtusa cage, in which its Asmin was placed for the kinesis. Oh, the jail cell in which the victim was detained. It doesn't seem to be made of timber of some sort. I think you not to refer to it as an instrument of incarceration, your lordship. In short, any weapon lodged in the victim when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis would have been left on the beam on the stage if it was made of metal, correct? Yes, that's it. Yes, it all fits perfectly with the mathematical model. But the ultimate conclusion, then, is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not? Oh, indeed, sir. Someone beam me out of this nightmare right now, because I feel like he's contradicting himself with every single statement he makes. There is... You seem very pleased by that. Yes, another example of my hypothesis holding true. But I said some sarcasm, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you not pleased? No. 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 I knew it. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Asmin losing his life. The advantage of science is no excuse, I know that. No, you're quite right. Tell the court, did you have a close relationship with Mr. Asman?
Well, no, not really. I mean, I only met him 2 or 3 times. But we only ever discussed my hypothesis in the project and the research grant, of course. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work would have been impossible.
How did you come to know Mr. Asman in the first place?
A year ago now, a small provincial science journal published a little paper about my work.
That's a scientific journal. Good gracious, I should need some new spectacles.
I might have had extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time I had no money. I had to eat tiny little meals at the tiny little cafe and drink watered down water out of a tiny little glass. But Mr. Asman read the paper and came to visit me at my tiny little laboratory.
And offered you money to help you fund your work?
Exactly, that's exactly what happened.
I feel like he was just using you, probably.
I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asman provided me with an engineer for the practical. And 3 of us produced that fantastic machine together.
The machine that brought you to the great exhibition to demonstrate.
We had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to exhibit, I think.
Jared, is that the phone?
I don't understand all that side of things. Mr. Asman took care of it all. He was a wonderful man, really. I really owe him everything.
Okay. When you say you built the machine together, does it mean that you were involved in its construction?
Yes, well, not exactly. I'm not good with the practical side of things by machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer.
Little remains of your creation now, though. Following the explosion, repair will no doubt be impossible.
Yes, I realize that, but still. It's something where to gather all the broken parts, they can discover the secret of my hypothesis. But Mr. Asman and I toiled over that machine for so long, we put our hearts and soul into it. I have to protect my work. Our work. So what's left of the machine must be kept safe. That's only fair because that's what happened was an accident.
That's the extent of the testimony then. Thank goodness for that. I don't want him doing any more damage. He's already basically proven that he could have been a culprit. It seems as though he really cares about defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is just fundamentally flawed? I'm kind of confused right now. Because, you know, metal weapon would have stayed put. I have a feeling it's statement number 2, but it's... Could it be... I want to see something real quick. Piece of green cloth. How about the... Does this have anything to do with it? No metal was transported. It's wooden, obviously. I'm trying to think right now. These are the glass shatters, right? Let me present this. Surely something about that last statement seems odd, doesn't it? Would you care to mull over precisely what you find odd about your return journey to Japan? I wouldn't be back to give the court an answer for about 4 months, though. Rest assured, we should be happy to carry proceedings forward in your absence, counsel. He sounds serious. I have to prove my worth before he really does send me back home. I want to believe... Can I present this? Yeah, the picture. Professor Harebrain, you say that according to the hypothesis, Nothing made of metal can be beamed instantaneously kinesis by using machine you made, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Spot on. Exactly correct.
In that case, I'd like you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. Oh, the monocle. It's metal, isn't it? You can clearly see that Mr. Asmund was wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim.
What? Metal? No, metal can't. That's not metal. No!
We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis is correctly predicted that outcome, it should also have predicted that the metal rimmed spectacles would have been found in the same place.
Ah! My hypothesis! My hypothesis!
Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed.
Ah!
Order! Order, Council, what is the implication of this? On the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place. It's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than on the stage. In that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit.
But my hypothesis is sound. I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was fruitful by all my work.
If I could say something here, in my capacity as a fellow member of Royal Society.
Juror number 4, go ahead.
As a man of science, there's one thing I cannot simply abide. That's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science.
What? Wait, Scott, are you suggesting my science is suspect?
Science is sus.
Just been disapproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel and a bounder and a fraud. I say with the records of that machine should be stripped down from thoroughly examined.
No, never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis. It's protected by the Special Dispensation of the Scientific Equipment Act.
The devil is that blasted act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule?
I like the way this seems to be going. What's best for me is to help Professor. I guess I'll raise an objection. Calm the hell down. Professor Harebrain was yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes? Even so, nunny. What? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine and display in public. He would absolutely have no reason to do such a thing. Huh? He made an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money. Huh? Oh, I forgot for the money.
Government was foolish enough to have deemed this man's ridiculous notion plausible. And he is the conspirators would have received the hands of some indeed.
Conspirators?
What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds?
You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year.
What the heck? That's a lot. That is a lot.
You could have lived in handsome and that much for years.
Society's noticing recent bogus like demonstrations in the field of science recently. And plenty of sides arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty enough motive for murder, I assure you.
No, I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound, my science is sound, but ladies, you have to believe me.
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to the Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success.
Barack!
And therefore, the only person who could have possibly committed this murder is the accused.
Barack.
I don't know whose side are you on. Are you on the prosecution? Are you on the side of science? Are you the side of the... Where is this heading? I have no idea.
My lord, if I may.
Yes, Lord Von Zeeks. The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand. New witnesses? New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement? They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses? Very well, the court grants the prosecution a request. I would very much hear from the eyewitnesses to the incident. Prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no postiche, whatever that word is. The accused killed the financial victim there on the public stairs before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I could definitely see that. Where does this leave me? Well, we shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take the stand. Alright, as you wish, my lord. Alright, good. In that case, the court is adjourned for 20 minutes. Looks like we get ourselves a break. Alright, I guess this is our perfect time to end off this episode, do we? Alright, not bad at all. Okay, so that was an interesting first part. Although I will say, I hate how, like, the fucking accused isn't on my side, which is pretty strange, by the way. Anyway, so next time on the Good Ace Attorney Chronicles, we are going to continue this trial towards another part. I guess I'll see you guys all next time.